I've played video games for long enough that if they were a university major, I'd have 3 doctorates in it. During that time, I've learned quite a bit through playing the games in general. First, I learned what I enjoy most about puzzles. I enjoy learning the general idea behind the puzzle, and then being left with a wide open approach to completing it. There's a sense of exploration that encourages. Said exploration implies that when you reach the next step forward, that step you've taken yourself. And much like finding where a piece goes in a large puzzle, knowing that you figured it out makes it far more satisfying. Being given a super basic task and being patted on the head every 5 seconds simply encourages rote repetition, which is bad for gaming and stifles creativity in general. Second, after going through the PlayStation 1 era, especially, I learned how much I dislike padding. If you have to wait for the game to get good, then the game has failed you. If you need to qualify your game with, well, once you get through X it's amazing, then why does the area before X exist? To teach you the mechanics? There are healthier ways to do so. What took arcade games, and SNK was especially good about this, about 10 to 15 seconds to teach now takes 10 hours. But games are more complex. The inputs may be, but the overall gameplay itself sure isn't. Third, gaming is where I gained my appreciation for people who risk-take in games. I'm talking about the actual creation of games and creativity in general. Who knew a game where a plumber who never does his job but jumps on turtles, kicks them into other enemies, and collects mushrooms and then flowers would be a hit? Or what about a game where you're in a ship shooting bugs and mushrooms to keep your garden under control? A hit, and one of my favorite arcade games. There isn't so much of that in mainstream gaming anymore. I know in some ways games have always been derivative. However, now that gaming itself is mainstream, it's so in your face now. And I get it, I mean, AAA games are so expensive, so you might as well go with what has worked in the past, right? Well then, how do you know what's going to work in the future? But some people may say that I appreciate this because I'm old. Everybody loves the console they grew up with, and that's partially true. I grew up starting with the Atari 2600, and while I may occasionally play it today, my favorite console came 2 generations later, which is the Super Nintendo. What developers learned while experimenting on the 2600 and in the NES, they seemingly perfected on that system. And that is my take on gaming today.